First of all, everybody should be vaccinated.
But I'm completely confident my plan is legal.
President Biden and the Biden administration will be extending the student loan payment pause a little bit longer.
Is non-binary. They use they, them pronouns.
Day before Thanksgiving, and we have a lot to get to. Fauci makes his final farewell for now. The shooter at the Cub Q Colorado Springs shooting apparently was non-binary. Trump's tax returns apparently open game for a House committee for now. And what else was there? The student loan forgiveness thing gets extended again. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go.
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is November 23rd, the year of our Lord 2022. We're in this cool, NASA jacket that I got on this Turning Point USA shoot that I'm really excited about. And I don't know, I like it a lot. It's got the Apollo patch, the NASA patch, American flag. Removed before flight. Oh, it's so cool. Aside from the coolness of this jacket, lots of stuff going on in today's news, which is not generally the standard for going to a vacation. But I want to get to this first. Before we get to Fauci, Fauci gave his last press conference at the White House press briefing room yesterday, and sparks were flying. I can imagine that's not going to be the last we see of Dr. Fauci, as the House has now taken control of, Republicans have taken control of the House. And they have promised to bring him in front of a lot of their committees. But before we get to that, the student loan payment got paused again. Oh my gosh, some of you in the comment sections are already off to a great start here. The student loan debt payment. So if you remember this, during COVID, the student loans got paused on, you don't need to make your payments yet. And a lot of people understood that. They're like, this is kind of craziness. We don't really know what's going on. So we're just going to pause these for payments. And then they got paused again and extended for another 6 months. And then they got paused again and extended for another 6 months. And then they got paused again and extended for another 6 months. And this time they got paused again and extended for another 6 months. Now, the rationale behind this, so the student loan payments were set to resume in January of this next year, January 2023. They've since then been pushed back to June 31st, June of this 2023. And on the contingent that the student loan debt forgiveness non-constitutional, non-starter, not going to happen thing gets through. Now, Joe Biden put out a video yesterday explaining, his process of why the student loans need to be paused again. And it doesn't add up when you account for the fact that he himself knows that the student loan forgiveness thing is completely, entirely unconstitutional. I want you to watch this and see if we can together kind of pick out all of the problems with Joe Biden's speech here when he's talking about why they're extending the student loan debt payments. Check this out. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already, would appreciate you doing this. Click on the little like button or the little angry button. Maybe this makes you very upset that it's getting extended yet again. Or the little share button and the little share button, especially rolling into the long weekend. People need something to watch on this long weekend. Or letting us know in the comment section what you think about the student loan debt extension, which is not the same as the forgiveness. Let us know in the comment section what you think about that. Again, engaging with the post in any way, shape, or form really, really does help us out. So we really, really appreciate you doing that. Anyways, here's Joe Biden making his claims as to why this is completely necessary. Check it out.
Folks, I want to give you an update on my student debt relief plan. As Americans continue to recover from the pandemic, my administration has been working to provide student debt relief to millions of working and middle-class families across the country. But Republican special interests and elected officials sued to deny this relief, even for their own constituents. But I'm completely confident my plan is legal. But right now, it's on hold because of these lawsuits. We're not going to back down, though, in our fight to give families breathing room. That's why the Department of Justice is asking the Supreme Court of the United States to rule on the case. But it isn't fair to ask tens of millions of borrowers eligible for relief to resume their student debt payments while the courts consider the lawsuit. For that reason, the Secretary of Education is extending the pause on student loan payments while we seek relief from the courts, but no later than June 30, 2023, which would give the Supreme Court an opportunity to hear the case in its current term.
All right, so this is going to be okay. So there's a little bit more that I might play after this, but I just thought this was fascinating. So just so you know, even the leftiest of lefty newspapers are saying, yeah, this whole thing is not going to turn out the way we think. Now, they're saying that after the midterms, coincidentally, but this was an opinion from an opinion from a month ago from the editorial board at the Washington Post. Biden's costly student loan plan could use a constitutional review. The plan is both expensive and of dubious legality. Again, the Washington Post saying that. There are also articles in the New York Times saying that, hey, the student loan debt forgiveness thing is not constitutional and you can't do that. So what we're going to have is, again, a bigger problem. I've been saying this for months now since this first started. The biggest problem we're going to have is this political fighting that's going on when people expecting $10,000 to $20,000 in money aren't going to get it. Now, what you heard just at the very end of that right there, what did he say?
Which would give the Supreme Court an opportunity to hear the case in its current term.
Got it. Okay, so he's waiting for the Supreme Court, which is going to further politicize the Supreme Court. Now, the judiciary branch has had a long-standing amount of trust with the American people. You may disagree with the way the court leans at a particular time. Sometimes it's more liberal, sometimes it's more conservative. But overall, the American people have overwhelmingly supported the Supreme Court. Having said that, in recent years, including the past administration, this administration, the administration before that, we've politicized the Supreme Court to a point where now public trust in the Supreme Court itself is going down. This is only going to make it worse. I want to listen off to what the tail end of what he said here before. This is going to get wild. Check this out.
Payments will resume 60 days after the pause ends. I'm never going to apologize for helping working class and middle class families recover from the economic crisis created by the pandemic. And I'll continue working to make government work to deliver for all Americans, This is important.
Okay, all right. So we'll just leave that there. Let's see. What did he say at the end? He's never going to apologize for helping the middle class with problems caused by the pandemic, economic problems caused by the pandemic. Just remember, keep in mind here that the pandemic did not cause any economic problems. The government's reaction to the pandemic caused the economic problems. Now, maybe you think some of those steps were justified. I don't know. Maybe there's some people out there that think that the government did need to step in some capacity. I think a lot of people, especially very early on, thought that, and that's fine. But it was entirely the reaction to the pandemic, not the pandemic itself. So remember, when you hear that term, well, because of the pandemic, no. Because of the government reaction to the pandemic. He also said there that, kind of giving how this is going to work, that payment pause is getting paused yet again until June, and then payments will resume 60 days after that pause, or after definitive litigation after definitive determination is made by the Supreme Court on whether or not this is legal. Again, I'm guaranteeing you, I would put all of the money that I had times 10 of that money taken out on credit cards against, I don't know, whatever bet that you want to give me, because this is 100% not going to take place in any way, shape, or form constitutionally. Speaking of people in the president's circle, let's get to our favorite, I don't know why I almost said our favorite furry friend. I don't know the man to be furry. But Dr. Fauci made his final appearance at the White House press briefing room yesterday. Fauci's farewell tour began at the White House, and he's, again, stepping down from his post in the government. Interestingly enough, just before Republicans take the House. I wonder if that has anything to do with Dr. Fauci stepping down. But things got a little testy. You're going to want to see some of this video. I think it's pretty funny. A lot of people very upset that Fauci was not open and accessible to a lot of the questions being asked in the White House press briefing room. But nevertheless, Dr. Fauci holding his ground, saying that you need to vaccinated first. And then he starts talking about masks and Thanksgiving. Again, 3 years into this stupid thing. Check this out from the Fauci as he exits the government that he has served for, 50 years, 60 years? Oh my gosh. Check this out and we will discuss on the other side. Oh, also, if you haven't already, I'm seeing a couple thousand of you on the little ticker thing watching this, and I really appreciate you checking this out. If you wouldn't mind clicking the little like button, the little emoji button that's down here, and the little share button really, really does help us out, especially heading into a long weekend. People need something to watch while they're driving to grandma's house. And by watch, I mean listen to, because you should not watch this show while you're driving a car. And let us know in the comment section what you think of Dr. Fauci. Will he be hauled in front of committees that Congress, this new Congress, is going to be in charge of? Who knows? Anyways, check it out. Dr. Fauci, farewell.
As immune compromised, first of all, everybody should be vaccinated and boosted with flu and with COVID. Whether or not you wear a mask, or another thing we shouldn't underestimate is testing. So when we're gathering at a family gathering for Thanksgiving or for Christmas or for any other holiday as we get into the winter, it makes sense that you might want to get a test that day before you come into a place in which you might be infected and spread it, or other people who might be there, in order to protect. So masking is important, but you can count masking, vaccine, boosting, testing. All of that is part of the spectrum of protecting yourself and your body.
Oops, sorry. Let's see. Scrubbed back to a different place. Oh, man. So Dr. Fauci, farewell for now. And I say for now because, wow, there's so many people. Okay, so at the beginning of this, if you're just jumping on, because I see the numbers go up and there's a big uptick, I don't know what compelled me to do this, but I said, our favorite furry friend, Dr. Fauci. I think it was alliteration, just a bunch of F's. And now a bunch of people are saying, good riddance, furry Fauci, which is funny. Stephanie says, Fauci is probably a closet furry. Again, I have no evidence to suggest that Dr. Fauci is, in fact, a furry. These are some conclusions come to entirely of your own volition, and I have no say in the matter. Let's see. Annette says Fauci is running to hide from criminal charges. That seems accurate. Pam says good. Fauci is leaving. Thank God. Ken says should be in jail. Could get interesting. Kathy reminds us, too, that Fauci still can be prosecuted. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see how that all pans out. Especially with Republicans holding the House. I don't know what the protocol is, but I would imagine Rand Paul will probably be a guest speaker on the House side when the House committees haul Fauci in to question him on his practices during the pandemic. Wow, a bunch of very, very incriminating or very mean. Gabriel says, woof, woof, he definitely has fleas. I cannot confirm or deny that Dr. Fauci is a furry and has fees. But where was I here? Let's continue on. So KJP, the inept White House press secretary, who's not very good at talking, not very good at spinning, not very good at her job. And I still think that by the end of the year, KJP will say, I've decided to spend more time with my family and take a step away from the podium at the White House and pass it on to new and more vibrant White House press secretary leadership. I think that's going to happen. But KJP got to testy with some reporters. So I thought this was fast. That's just kind of funny to watch, funny to see Fauci's farewell. People, again, asking questions that they should have be given answers to, and KJP snapping at him.
Dr. Fauci, only 13% of...
Hold on one second. We have a process here. I'm not calling out on people who yell. And you're being disrespectful to your colleagues, and you're being disrespectful to our guests. I will not call on you if you yell. And also, you're taking time off the clock, because Dr. Fauci has to leave in a couple of minutes. I'm done. I'm not getting into a
What? Okay, I didn't hear that part. What does Fauci have to do that's so important that he has to leave the White House press briefing room in just a couple of minutes? Oh no! He's got to attend to his, I don't know, bocce ball game, which again is another indictment that Dr. Fauci plays bocce ball with zero evidence. Anyways, we continue.
back and forth with you. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Dr. Fauci,
But she's
only
asking a
30.
great question.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Go ahead,
No, she's
Jeremy.
asking a valid question. You ask your question, you should allow her to ask the
Go ahead,
question.
Jeremy.
She's asking a valid
It's Jeremy.
question, Dr. Fauci,
It's
on the origin of COVID-19.
It is not your turn.
No, because
It is not your turn.
You come from the same people. That's the thing. You can't read a press briefing. You need to call from people across the room. She has a valid question. She's asking about the origin of COVID-19.
I hear the question.
And Dr. Fauci is the best person to answer
I
that
hear
question.
your question, but we're not doing this the way you want it. This is a disrespectful. It is. I'm done. Simon, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you right now. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're taking time away from your colleagues. Go ahead.
Only 13% of the
I don't know. I thought that was a funny kind of testy back and forth. Now, that reporter obviously is speaking out of turn, and yes, it is rude, but at the same time, it feels probably rude. I'd be curious to know when's the last time he got called on. I'd venture to guess close to never. So I would imagine that he was frustrated with the fact that, well, Dr. Fauci has to leave, so we only have a couple minutes, and we won't ask any of the difficult questions. Any of you Dr. Fauci-loving journalists, you can ask him what his favorite color is and what he looks forward to in retirement. Those are the questions that we'll accept, probably. Ryan says, I'm sure he has a job waiting at MSDNC. I think he got the acronyms wrong. I think it's MSNBC. I'm not sure what MSDNC would even mean. So, that's probably true, though. So there's that. Let's see. Jody says, only softball questions, please. And then Willie says, don't leave town. Yeah, probably. Dr. Fauci is going to get hauled in front of the committees that are going to be run by Republicans in like 6 weeks. Speaking of, oh my gosh, there's so many interesting stories to get to. Let's go to this. This is kind of an interesting one to talk about. A little bit of a snag in the Club Q shooting. So over the weekend, Saturday night, there was a horrible shooting in Colorado Springs. I mentioned distress about that. It's terrible, regardless what you think. I also mentioned that doesn't and isn't going to dissuade the actions of a crazy person should not dissuade good, honest people from making good, honest arguments. As it was predominantly used in the mainstream media. Oh, well, people that are transphobic or whatever. Look, I have opinions. I think, hey, maybe you don't do drag shows for kids. It seems to be a problem in this country, and I'm against it. That sort of speech, me making that sort of argument or saying that opinion, does not justify somebody going and shooting places. That's ridiculous. Yet the mainstream media and the lefty news did that all weekend, saying, well, if you think this, then you're promoting this kind of violence. Absolutely not. That is not true at all. I can't even believe I have to qualify anything I say with that sort of garbage, because we're all adults here and we can recognize a crazy person doing crazy things when we see it. Again, I did not blame Bernie Sanders for when that Bernie supporter went and shot up a Republican baseball practice. So, all that being said, there's some kind of interesting stuff going on in this particular story. The shooter, I need to do a better job at organizing the list of things that I talk about. I just kind of like go throughout the day and just kind of throw stuff in, and they kind of just get in where they get in. And sometimes, here we go. The public defenders for the suspect in the mass shooting at the Colorado Springs LGBTQ nightclub said in a Tuesday night court filing obtained by the New York Times reporter that their client is non-binary and uses they, them pronouns. The big picture, the subject, this is from Axios, by the way. I'm not going to use his name, and unfortunately, the clip that I'm about to play from CNN, which is pretty dang interesting, They use his name, their name. Their name. They use this dumb idiot scumbag loser jerk. They use his name. I'm not going to. But again, you're going to hear it in just a second, so me skipping over it seems to be somewhat pointless. Is facing multiple murder charges and hate crime charges over the shooting at Club Q last weekend that killed 5 people per a city spokesperson. Idiot stupid guy was injured during the shooting but released from a local hospital and booked into the El Paso County Jail. Earlier on Tuesday, says the Denver Post. Now, here's what's interesting about this. I'm going to play this CNN clip as they find out live on the air when they're sitting talking about a panel. And the reporter says, this just in, the shooter in the Colorado Springs shooting identifies as non-binary. Then they go and try and justify it, which is, oh boy, I understand live TV has a little bit of, I don't know. You don't really get a time to flesh out your thoughts as much. So I understand it in that regard, but this is not going to come out well, I think, especially given the ramifications of the charges put on this dude. If you haven't already, I'm going to play this clip, but if you haven't already, I would really, really appreciate you clicking the little like button down here, the little reaction button, the little angry button, maybe the confused button, maybe the laughing in the face of your mainstream media that called you haters and promoting violence all weekend. Come to find out that the shooter here is non-binary. Again, this doesn't take away from the horribleness of it. I'm just saying, maybe, I don't know, maybe you want to react in some sort of emotion. Also, give us a comment, let us know what you think. And most importantly, click the little share button. Really, really does help us out extremely, especially if you're watching on any of our monetized platforms. Anyways, check this out from CNN while they find out that the shooter in the Colorado Springs shooting was non-binary.
So attorneys for the accused shooter, Anderson Lee Aldrich, say in new court filings tonight that the suspect now identifies as non-binary. In a footnote to a motion asserting legal privileges, the public defenders say, quote, Anderson Aldrich is non-binary. They use they, them pronouns, and for the purposes of all formal filings will be addressed as Mix Aldrich. So in other words, not Mr. or Ms. Joining me now, CNN political commentator Errol Lewis, also back with me, Al Franken and Joe Walsh. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's not anything that we had heard from his background. You know, people have been looking into his background. And I don't know if anybody here, are you guys lawyers? I mean, you know, I don't know if, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's what he's now saying.
It sounds like they're trying to prepare a defense against a hate crimes charge.
That's the dumbest thing anybody on TV has said in a very long time. Listen to that again.
Against a hate crimes charge. It sounds like they're trying to prepare a defense against a hate crimes charge.
Okay, again, I'm aware that live TV happens and sometimes news breaks. It's happened to me where you're sitting on a panel and you're there to talk about one thing and then all of a sudden, oh shoot, here's breaking news that we have to get into right now. And you don't have a lot of time to flesh out your thoughts. I get that. I understand that. But again, let's listen to one of the dumbest things ever said on TV.
Don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's what he's now saying.
It sounds like they're trying to prepare a defense against a hate crimes charge.
Okay, cool. So just so you know, this guy also killed, was it 5 people or did it get up to 6? Multiple homicides. You know what happens when you kill multiple people and you're being tried for multiple homicides? You worry about those homicides first. The thought that the attorneys, the public defender attorneys, by the way, who generally speaking tend to swing a particular direction. I'm not getting into that whole sort of thing, but public defenders, I don't know. Bottom line here is, when you're being tried for multiple homicides, you don't worry about whether or not those homicides quantify as hate crimes. They're still homicides. It's the worst thing you can do in our criminal justice system. So to say on TV, well, they're trying to get out of the hate crime is stupid. That's like if you burned down your house and you're worried about whether or not your mom is going to be mad at you for taking cookies out of the cookie jar. Yeah, the cookie jar is still a little bit insignificant. You burned down the entire house, kiddo. Let's play it on. This is a couple more seconds here.
It's the least of his problems, legally speaking, but it looks like they're trying to build some kind of sympathy.
At least he does say, again, sorry for playing this multiple times. He does make the point of it's the least of his problems, legally speaking, but okay.
That's the least of his problems, legally speaking, right. But it looks like they're trying to build some kind of sympathy or at least confusion on the question of whether or not this was purely motivated by hate.
That is what it sounds like. We'll wait to see.
Yeah, and she agreed, saying that, that's what it sounds like. It definitely sounds like that definitely sounds like what's going on, is they're trying to build a defense against the hate crime. Not to mention multiple homicides are also on the table. Seems ridiculous. Again, I haven't really paid a ton of attention to not talking about this too much. Clearly, look, I don't think that whatever this idiot, scumbag, loser person ends up being identified, what his motives are, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't get to do that sort of thing. And I think propping up a culture where we say, gotcha, or gotcha, if the killer turns out to be this or that, or this or that, like, don't shoot people. How about that? Just don't let your political thoughts lead to violence. Like, that's, I don't know. All of this goes kind of without saying, but I feel like I need to say it. I want to get to this story. This is we'll wrap it up again. This is probably the most news-heavy leading into 4 days off that I think we've had in a long time. Donald Trump apparently is going to have his taxes shown to the American public via a House committee, maybe. Check this out. This actually does a pretty good job. This is kind of a longish clip, but it's from MSNBC. But it does a pretty good job at laying out what happened yesterday. The Supreme Court threw out a case from Trump to block a House committee. It's the Oversight Ways and Means Committee, one of the House committees, from getting Trump's taxes. Now, again, this is kind of longish, but and it does a pretty good job of explaining it. And the very, very end gets to kind of the comical, gotcha, a little bit. Which I think is kind of funny. I'm going to play this, and then last time here, just one more quick reminder. If you wouldn't mind clicking the little like button or the little reaction button, or letting us know in the comment section what you think, and especially clicking the little share button. Especially, we're going to be off in the next couple of days, sharing this with your family and friends while they can listen while they drive to Grandma's house. But we also on the podcast, the apps. So anyways, check this out before we kind of talk about what's going on with Trump's taxes. Watch this.
Breaking news from the Supreme Court. Donald Trump's last-ditch effort to block the release of his tax records to House Democrats just got shot down. The High Court says the committee, those House Democrats, can now try and access the tax documents ahead of the Republican House takeover in January.
Katie, this is a saga that goes back almost to the very beginning of Democrats retaking control of Congress after the 2018 election. And at that point, the Ways and Means Committee went after these Trump tax returns. The committee has a right to get these tax returns. They have argued it through every hoop in the judicial process. This latest decision from the Supreme Court ends really the one last move that Donald Trump had here to avoid handing these tax returns over. He had appealed, asking for a stay, asking to block this order. Here you have this unsigned, essentially a 9-0, no explanation given decision from the Supreme Court to throw out that effort by Donald Trump. He will have to turn these records, both tax returns and other financial records, over to the Ways and Means Committee. The challenge now for the Ways and Means Committee is they only exist in this format for another 6 weeks or so before they will be reconstituted with a Republican majority who would likely then drop this issue entirely. So,
all right, so that's the big kicker at the end there is So basically in 2018, when House Democrats took over the House, they started this big, long investigation. We need to see Trump's taxes. It's literally only for political purposes. I don't think they're actually looking into anything other than showing the world what Donald Trump makes, which, I don't know, could be more, could be less, probably is less. I don't actually know. But it's been an ongoing court battle for 4 years now, and the Supreme Court finally, the last layer of defense that Donald Trump had to shield his taxes from the public, which is what a weird, I don't know. I don't know. Somebody in the comments that mentioned, oh yeah, Jesse said, can we see the Biden's taxes? Yeah, that's a good question. I'm pretty sure Joe Biden did divulge his taxes, but I would be curious what Jim Biden and Hunter Biden's taxes look like. Anyways, oh yeah, Gabriel asked the question, so they still may not get them? Yeah, that seems to be the case. It's been a legal battle over 4 years, and the Treasury Department is, I guess, in charge or told now that they have to turn over Donald Trump's taxes. The problem is, in about 6 weeks, the congressional this Congress will end and Republicans will take over and therefore assume the control of all these committees and therefore probably drop the issue entirely. So over the 4 years, they couldn't get this done. Finally, the Supreme Court says, yeah, he has no right to block them from you. You're a House committee. You can kind of do whatever you want, which is a problem in and of itself. But now that they finally have access to it, they're about to lose power in 6 weeks. And it's up to you whether or not you think that the government can get their act together in 6 weeks and divulge the tax information and do anything with it. My guess is no, but we'll see. We will see. Anything else? That's it. That's going to do it for us today and for this week. We will be off tomorrow for Thanksgiving. And then also off Friday because laziness. Unless, of course, we're not. I don't know. There have been times, I think last year during the Christmas break, I was like, all right, this is the standard talk show break time where your radio talk shows, your TV talk shows, everybody takes this 2-week break. And after like 4 days, I was like, all right, they got nothing to do. So I came back out here early. So, maybe we'll be on Friday, but I can't imagine we will be. But anyways, have a great Thanksgiving with your family. Have some fun. Don't talk about politics all that much. If you can't help it, you can't help it. And make sure you win those arguments. But, focus on the things that actually matter in life. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media accounts. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find me there. We'll keep in touch over the Thanksgiving holiday on any of your social media platforms, especially Instagram. Use Instagram a lot. Let me see any announcements to make. I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, have a great, wonderful Thanksgiving with your family, even though it will cost 20% more this year. #ThanksInflation. We'll see you on Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in. Same time, same place, Monday morning. God bless America.